Teach Me Grappling, and I'm back. What's up, guys? We've got Trent Munoz, the older brother. Just a couple days ago, I released the Alex Munoz reel. This is his older brother, Trent. It's been on the channel before. There's a sweep single, controlling the wrist. Notice how he pulled his opponent around. We were actually just working on that in the this past week, right before the tournament. Opponent gets one escape, no problem. Actually, it's funny. This opponent is actually a kid I used to coach. He's a young kid, so he's definitely very young. He's not very old. So I believe he might be an incoming freshman, or he is a freshman right now. So there's a nice little lat throw whip over that you saw also his brother do, using the lat off of his opponent's double leg. And again, he cuts him, gives him one escape. A lot of times in wrestling, you'll let your opponent get away. There's a nice inside tie to a high crotch. Kind of rotates him kind of backward. Cuts him loose again. Comes out to the front. Looks for the one escape. Once he gets the one escape, it's time to attack again. This time he lets him go. Trent's usually good in the ties. He likes to tie up. There he's working on his feints. He's been trying to work on his footwork because he's somewhat of a plodding wrestler that likes to put hands on people, but there's an open double, not the best setup in the world, but gets in the over-under, hits a nice sag headlock, and takes his opponent down with a headlock. That's also not very normal for Trent. So Trent doesn't normally do a lot of headlocks, but again, we're always pushing our wrestlers and our competitors to be dynamic, to try to do things that, maybe they're not so used to doing. So our opponent defers to us. We choose neutral, which is the standing position. In between rounds, you're allowed to choose top, bottom, or neutral. And our opponent won the coin toss. He deferred to us. That means he gives us the choice. Again, right there, Trent was working a little head tap, looking for his opponent to grab our wrist. Another sag headlock. Again, he was open for that sag headlock, so we hit him again with it. You kind of come across and you club him, and then a nice little go behind, but he already had the takedown, so boom. He cuts his opponent, gets the one escape. Now it's time to go again. Another high crotch. Gets in nice, lifts his opponent, takes him to the mat. Again, not super impressive. I mean, you guys can learn a lot by watching, which is kind of why I'm doing these videos. But at the same time, I'm not, we're not, I know we're wrestling a young wrestler, so when he makes it look easy, a large part of that is our opponent's, he's going to get a lot better. Again, like I said, he's a younger kid that I used to coach. And here's a tilt off the chicken wing, what we call the Anderson tilt. A lot of people call it a reinforced bar, reinforced chicken wing. And so they go out of bounds. Coming back to the middle. Looks like Trent wants to cut him loose. He just gave the signal where you touch your thumb tips and your fingertips, your index fingertips together. That's the signal to cut your opponent, or at least start with an optional start. We used to call it the freestyle start because that's how you started in freestyle back in the day. Usually called an optional start. You can cut your opponent from there, but you can also just hop on them as well. Try to use it as a strategy to confuse your opponent. There's a sweep single. Again, looking to control the wrist like he did in the beginning. 2-on-1, cuts an angle, gets to an ankle. Cuts an angle and gets to an ankle, gets the takedown on the edge of the mat. So, looks like possibly they were talking about a tech, but it looks like they also might have gotten it wrong. I believe it was actually not a tech. So, at first they thought it was a tech, but I think he's got a 14-point lead right now. So, instead, they're going to have to wrestle a little bit more. So, back at it. Trent with an open double. Just blasts right through him, takes him straight to his back for a split second. Opponent goes to his belly. And we get the takedown, get the technical fall. Match over. So, in the sport of folk style wrestling, when you have a 15-point lead or more, it's what's called a technical fall. So that 21-5 score means he's got a 16-point lead. Match is over. So as we head to the second match, our opponent here looks pretty impressive. He's much more muscular, more developed. Again, we're always excited to wrestle, strong, tough wrestlers. And this guy's staying nice and low. Trent again looking for that 2-on-1, tossing to the side to get in on the high crotch. Our opponent kicks away, no problem. We'll just let him go. And opponent gets in on a single. Trent's got that tight waist. And then check this out right here. As Trent's looking on this angle, now he's coming back the other side, picking up ankles, trying to wear his opponent out here. Keeps that tricep, that far tricep, kind of working to get in on a counter shot. Doesn't quite happen. They go out of bounds before he can score. No takedown. So as they go back at it, again, Trent's moving his feet. Again, normally more of a moving wrestler. Likes to tie up. Nice exchange of the ties. Trent has the underhook. Opponent kind of works his way out of bounds. We're pressuring forward really, really well. Our opponent's kind of backing up, but that's the way the game works. Opponent shoots again. This time we're more ready for it. We run that front headlock. Squeezing. As we're circling, looking to shuck. Catch an underhook, and then check this out right here. Nice, using the underhook. Popping out the back door right here. And we've got to get that takedown. Snatch both legs and keep our feet in so we can score that takedown on the edge. As our opponent tries to get out of bounds before it happens, we got him just in time right there. So, again, another takedown. You can see the guy with the water bottle next to the ref. He's going to tap the ref, signifying the end of the period. And they'll go to the second period. Referee flips the coin. Looks like it goes to red. He immediately defers back to us. We are green. And Trent chooses down. If you're not used to wrestling, this kind of like choice thing in the second period is probably new to you, and it kind of may not even make too much sense. There's a nice little cartwheel off of our opponent's claw, hitting a nice reversal, catching him on his back, scoring the reversal, scoring some near fall as well. So, nice move. Again, any of these moves, if you guys want to go back, re-watch them, you can kind of see what's going on. Like I said, I was talking about how his brother Alex was ranked 14th in the state. Trent is currently ranked 4th in the state. So he's definitely one of the top 5 guys. Okay, we're running a little hammer down position, which is commonly called a player ride. We end up abandoning, looking to pull our opponent's wrist behind the back. And then we end up switching to a chicken wing or a bar arm, also called a bar arm. Our opponent did a nice job right there of limp arming and slipping out. We kind of bump and chop, breaking back down, look for a new chicken wing. This time we've got that wrist. So our right hand has the wrist. We're going to use that chicken wing to pull him over, put him on his back, get some swipes by the referee, and get that 3-point near fall. So as they go out of bounds. So you'll notice the referee awards us 3 points. That's for a 5-second count. If you get a 5-second count or more with your opponent at a 45-degree angle or better, you'll get 3 points. Anything between 2 seconds and 5, between those 2 points, you're only going to score 2. Anything less than 2 seconds, you don't get a score. So it's not like freestyle wrestling or Greco where you just got to kind of throw him to his back and roll him over like they do in freestyle. So third period, our opponent chooses. First he chose down, then he decided, you know what, let's go neutral. He's probably down by points quite a bit, and he figures his best chance is to, make something happen there. There was a nice little setup again. You got to go back and check that out. Trent touched the head. Our opponent swiped our hand off his head, and then we used that to get to like an arm drag to a high crotch. So nice little setup right there. Again, it happens so fast, you're going to have to go back and look at it. If you don't have an eye for takedowns, it's kind of hard to see. Right here, Trent's working what we call the Schultz lace. Dave Schultz, very famous U.S. wrestler that was murdered back in 1996. He was famous for this hold. Trent ends up abandoning it as he attacks for a new chicken wing, and he's going to try to run this. Looking to pull the wrist in, put some pressure on the shoulder, puts a lot of pressure, and then Trent wants to finish him off right here. He's going to try to squeeze, keep that chicken wing. He's opting for like a little head control, kind of like a north-south choke. And he's going to put the pressure down, get that fall, get that pin. So you can't be in too big of a hurry. You know, if you go to these tournaments and you have the skills to beat guys easily, you want to get a good workout. You know, you want to kind of play a little cat and mouse for a while. Maybe let them go and score some points. Work on your moves, and then you can finish them when the time is right. And then that way you get a broad spectrum of the wrestling game. You know, you get to work your bottom technique. You get to work on your feet. You get to work your pinning combinations. And then you do it all. So next match here, Trent, I believe, had 6 matches this day. So this is match number 3. So again, our opponent looks pretty stout. He's looking like a strong kid. He's probably a little softer than the previous kid, but kid looks strong. He's coming forward. Trent looks for a little slide by. Doesn't quite work. Let's see what comes. Again, Trent's looking for that wrist tie. So as Trent touches the head, he's looking to control the wrist. Let's see if he'll do it again. Touching the head. Nope. He takes an open shot. Catches his opponent on his back briefly. Gets the 2-point takedown. So again, like in wrestling, it's very similar to boxing. And you might go, well, how is wrestling like boxing? Well, in the same way as boxing, they're so good at like punching and their setups and their timing and all that, the footwork, everything that they do in boxing, wrestling, that's what we develop when it comes to takedowns. The footwork, the timing, you know, the setups, you know, you're going to see the best of it when it comes to in wrestling. You're going to see the best of the takedowns. So, you know, judo is very similar, but in a gi. So for no gi, you know, wrestling's going to show that no gi style of takedowns. Trent spins to the front, traps his opponent's head with his knees, ends up putting his opponent to his back, looking to score some nice points off of his hammerlock. Look at, he threads his right hand for the underhook. And right here, he's lifting the head. And not sure if that was time. Yeah, that must have been time. So they go to the second period. Trent defers to his opponent. His opponent chooses neutral. So they're going to go up on their feet. Okay, let's see what we can find. Little sideways movement action. Couple little feints. Touching the head. There's another feint. Touching the head. Grabbing the collar tie. Looking for the slide by. Again, not there. Wasn't able to make the grip on the arm. Takes an open shot. Ends up in a front headlock. You always, when you're in the front headlock, hits a nice little peek. Gets in on the leg. And his opponent, again, was way too close. Then he eats a crossface. You know, sometimes a crossface, that's what's for dinner. And catches him, kind of splits the legs with his left knee. And you see the crossface is putting his opponent on his back. He doesn't have a full Turk with his left knee, his left leg, but he was able to split the legs and put his knee between his opponent's legs, which helped him take him to his back. Now he's looking to ride a little bit. Looking for that near wrist. Breaks his opponent down. Switches to the chicken wing. Looks to me like our opponent's a little bit, you know, mentally defeated at this point, which makes it a lot easier to turn him. Trent was looking for maybe a little double chicken wing and ends up going out of bounds before getting the near fall. So when you put opponent on his back, you get what's called near fall. So he is near to the fall. So that's where you get the name near fall. Trent elects to go optional start. Again, that's where he's going to put his hands on his back instead of the more traditional start position. Lets him go, gives him a one escape, pounds on the head a little bit, ends up in the over-under, cuts a nice angle for a single, and ends up going behind. Gets the 2-point takedown. Again, he's going to cut him again. Again, gets the single leg, ends up going out of bounds. So, still really good. We're trying to get a great workout, stay in good shape, keep the attacks. Referee blows the whistle, shoot in on the low single, and time runs out. So Trent chooses down for the third period. Again, going down sometimes is a really wise choice in wrestling because it can be really hard for your opponent to turn you over to your back, and you can easily score a 1-point escape. There's a 1-point escape. In on a high crotch, takes his opponent down. Looks like his opponent's definitely a little hurt. And, he's getting a little overwhelmed. So he's a little banged up. Just needed a moment to recover. Might have hit his low back a little bit hard on that takedown. Definitely wasn't illegal. But, sometimes you got to, check out the athlete, make sure the athlete's safe, make sure he's okay. And then we'll get right back to the wrestling. If you're curious about injury timeouts, because that's not something they use in jiu-jitsu tournaments, okay, we'll try to get through this match. There's a little chop and a breakdown. When it comes to injuries and a guy takes a timeout, he's allotted a minute and a half of injury time, and he can use all of it up on one, if he wants, on one injury timeout. As Trent goes hammerlock, he ends up sinking that underhook, lifts the head, and our opponent, I think he's had enough. So, looks like he's probably just going to finish him at this point. Nope. Trent decides I'm going to end up letting him out, and then it turns into a tech fall. So he had a 15-point lead, so ended it there. So, yeah, going back to the injury timeout, you can spread the injury timeout if you want. Like, you can use half of it, let's say 45 seconds, and then that leaves you 45 seconds for your next injury timeout. If you use it all up, you can't really get injured again. If you get injured, you basically default, or you're basically forfeiting, or it's called I guess it'd be a default. You default to your opponent. So, and if you take more than one injury timeout, the second time your opponent gets a choice. You can choose top, bottom, or neutral. Again, another high crotch. Head outside, high crotch into a takedown there. And if you end up doing it a third time, you actually default. So it didn't used to be that way, but that's been the rule for some time now. So you really only are allotted 2 injury timeouts unless it's blood time. So if you're bleeding, those are kind of unlimited. You can have as many blood timeouts and with a maximum time of what I believe is 5 minutes, if I still remember correctly. So you get a lot more time on blood. It also might not be 5 minutes. It might be unlimited. I'm not even sure anymore because they've changed the rules over the years. Anyway, nice little hammerlock again. Uses it to put our opponent on his back. Again, our opponent's kind of flopping a little bit. Trent finally lets him out. Let's get back to the action. Okay, our opponent's kind of laying on his belly. Trent's looking for what's called a ball and chain. His right hand is actually controlling his opponent's right wrist. And then Trent uses his left hand to help pry and crowbar him over and score some near fall there as time expires. Opponent gets choice. He asks his coach. His coach says, go defer. So it goes back to Trent. Trent's got choice. He goes down. Again, if you're superior to your opponent, which means you're probably not going to get taken down very often, you got to go down so you can practice. even if it is as easy as that with a switch and then a little single leg finish, at least you're practicing being on the bottom. Here's that Dave Schultz technique. He ends up working on that lace. Trent uses it to score. His opponent's on his back. His opponent better be watching it because he almost went flat right there. Trent kind of climbs up. Referee slaps the mat and decides to end the match. So, again, sometimes the opponents, that's why your mental mind, your state of mind, when you go into a match is really important. You got to be tough. Okay, now check out this Sasquatch that Trent's wrestling. Trent went 2 weight classes, so he's a 170 pounder, and he's wrestling up at 184s right here, so he's giving up a 14-pound weight advantage with this opponent. And opponent takes a nice single leg. Look at that right there. Beautiful Barzagar, and runs us across. But he does not secure the takedown because we went out of bounds. That was close though. Trent shoots the single leg. And then check this out right here. Nice little limp arm. Beautiful limp arm. Opponent falls on his belly. We get a nice clean takedown, effortless. When you're wrestling somebody bigger than you, it's always good to get angles. I mean, it's really good anytime, but especially when your opponent's bigger than you, when you can cut an angle on a single leg and get to the outside quickly, you negate all that weight and pressure that your opponent can put on you. So that was a nice clean takedown. And then our opponent used a whizzer, and we basically used the limp arm to avoid that whizzer. So again, any of this stuff, you can rewind it, go check it out, and try to learn from what you're seeing in live action. So again, Trent's using what's called a head lever, trying to pry his opponent down, keep him down, especially this big boy. He's going to have to wear him out for a little bit because this guy's pretty tough. And he's got some weight. Trent's looking to run the chicken wing. Our opponent's kind of arm is getting caught behind his back. Trent looks to double him up, looking for what's called the double chicken wing. If you can capture 2 at the same time, that'd be nice. So, not able to quite do it against this strong, beast right here. But anyway, time expires. They go to the second period. Trent defers, gives his opponent choice. Man, that guy's tall. Now check this out right here. Trent's going to end up getting hit for an illegal slam. So check this out. It was razor close. Nice little sweep single to the outside. Barzagar, just like our opponent did, lifts him up and plants him. Again, referee thought it was excessive. Ends up calling an illegal hold. Gives our opponent 1 point for the slam. Kind of sucked for us. It was a nice takedown. Our opponent did try to hook our leg on the way down, but because of the way Trent ran him so hard and the impact of the shoulder, I guess it was a little too much for the ref. So anyway, they're back up on their feet. A little bit of hand fighting, touching on the head. Our opponent tries a nice little kind of shuck slide by, trying to elbow bump us off our collar tie to get a go behind, but it didn't work. Trent's looking to snap him down, heavy on the head, trying to really pull our opponent. Looks for his classic high C. Our opponent tried to go behind, almost gets behind, yes, and he does get behind. And then with Trent trying to Granby, catches us on our back, scores 2 takedown, 2 near fall, and it makes this match pretty exciting. Trent ends up with 2 reversal as he scrambles out the back. Trust me, Trent's not too happy right here. Traps his opponent's ankle to his butt. He's got to let that out in folk style wrestling. Unless you're using it to put a guy to his back, you can't hold that there. You'll get called for stalling. Trent's rolling those wrists, pulls him back for a chicken wing, and now he's going to look to kind of run this chicken wing. He wants to score real bad. So our opponent with a nice 4-point move right there, getting the takedown, getting the near fall, and then Trent chooses down. So Trent with a nice little switch, ends up in a front headlock, gets his go behind, gets his takedown, gets his escape, then right back in on a high crotch and takes him down. Gets 1 and then 2. And now we're grinding. So working on what's called an Iowa ride. It's what we call it out in California. That means the ankle hook that Trent's using with his right leg on his opponent's left leg. That's a great way to control your opponent so your opponent can't turn into you. Makes it difficult to stand up. Again, nice. Our opponent's trying to make something work, but we're grinding him right here. Trent's definitely putting the pressure on. He wants to ride this guy out. Show him that even though he's big, he can ride him. And I'm sure Trent also wants to put him on his back. So, trying to get another chicken wing. Gets the double chicken wing. Starts to run it. Opponent slips one of his arms out. Again, Trent like furiously looking for the double chicken wing again. Can't get the double. Putting a knee in his back. You guys see the knee on his back? So that, maybe might help you cause a little bit of pain and apply some pressure. And then maybe even like cinch up something a little tighter. You can kind of bring that knee up and work him a little bit. Again, Trent looking to run that chicken wing, but this long guy's got such a good build. He kind of kept Trent away from that. Either way, Trent wins the match with the score. Man, this guy's big. So,
good job, man.
Either way, great match for Trent. We really appreciate our opponent giving us that match. So here's the last match of the day. We're wrestling the same kid we did earlier. Again, when you go into multiple weight classes, you run 2 weight classes, you also might meet the same guy twice because he's also doing it so he can get more matches. So, wrestling our opponent again. There's a little snap down. Opponent goes for single leg. Trent's looking to use that whizzer tight waist with his right hand off of our opponent's single leg. Now check this out right here. We try to hip in right here like whizzer. Our opponent, nice move, pops out behind us. Doesn't quite hold it long enough to get the takedown. Trent squares back up. Now with our opponent with a left arm underhook. Looks to go for a single leg again. Trent sees the counter shot. High crotch to a double. Pulls his leg out. Makes our opponent fall to the mat. Scores the 2 points. So, again, Trent riding with the Iowa ride. Looking for maybe a leg ride. Opponent's trying to get up. We ride him. We go out of bounds. Back to the middle.
You want to grab his stuff?
Opponent's down. You got to get on top. The rule goes like this. Left knee's got to be on the mat. Right knee can be up or down. Left hand's got to start on your opponent's elbow. Right hand's going to be on the belly button. And you can do the exact opposite on the other side. So what I explained was if you're starting on the left. Trent with another chicken wing like he used earlier. He loves this little kind of tilt that you can use your chicken wing. Trent shows the referee. He released the hold. Scores the points. And they go out of bounds. I like this opponent. Our opponent's pretty tough. He hustles back to the middle. His coach is passionate. He's working on him. They want to get him to score. They want to get him to kind of make something happen. Opponent tries to roll. Maybe checks a headlock. Trent rolled with him. Trent's chopping him, breaking him down. Opponent's not giving up. He didn't get the escape, but he was never out of it. He was working really hard to kind of push back and get an escape. Trent defers. Our opponent chooses down. He wants to get that one escape. And I'm sure he probably also thinks that, this is the safer position to wrestle to prevent Trent from scoring. So, if he's not going to his back much, and he believes in his stand-up capability, he's almost out. There it is. He got his one escape. That was a good move by him to try to go underneath so he can get his escape point. Try to keep the match as close as he can. Then maybe some magic can happen for him. Trent shoots an outside single. Try to use the underhook. Check it out right here. Trent's going to push that underhook by. The guy lets it slip like a reverse limp arm and gets the takedown. Again, Trent using a little too much energy. Squares up, gets the 1-point escape. Trent shoots again. Again using the underhook. Same one he had before that he messed up on. Drives him out of bounds. Again, everybody makes mistakes, and I love it when my kids make mistakes because then we can go back and review it and then work on what we did wrong so he doesn't repeat the mistake in the future. So there's another high crotch. Turns into a single though. Steps in the hole. Trent with the limp arm, much like he used, that match with the that big boy. Using a limp arm. You got to have a limp arm when you guys shoot single eights. Every once in a while, if your opponent knows how to whizzer, you got to have a limp arm. It doesn't mean it's going to work every time. You got to set it up. But a limp arm is killer versus a guy who's got a whizzer. Trent with the breakdown. Keeping pressure on. Checking a crossface. And he's got another chicken wing. Looking to work his opponent. Kind of really tighten it up. That way he can get two of them. He's working for a double chicken wing. Takes his opponent over. Just for a brief moment, but our opponent was tough. Again, you notice the difference in his mental toughness. Because even though he's lost before, and even though he's losing this match, he's not giving up. He's going to keep working hard. He's going to do the best he can. And that's what any coach would love to see in his wrestling. So Trent chooses down for the third. Again, works his switch. Turns back in. Looks for a lock in the crotch. And then look right here. As we get in this position, this is something we were working last week. Off the ball and chain. And then our opponent kind of goes to sleep for a second. Referee calls the fall. Maybe it was a little quick. Opponent might have had right shoulder up, but obviously the referee had the better view. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time with more great stuff. That's Trent Munoz.
Good job, dude. That's it.